Welcome to the Digital Marketing Insights podcast, brought to you by Brightside Digital.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm delighted to say today we have Edmund with us, a digital marketing manager. Hi Edmund, how are you doing?
Good, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Edmund, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
First of all, Tom, thank you so much for getting me onto the show. It's a great show. It's a great thing what you're doing. I think there's so much value in all the interviews that you've been doing with the different guys in the last few weeks. So yeah, keep it up. But a little bit about myself. So I started my digital marketing career around 6 years ago, just straight off university. And yeah, no, ever since then, I the first thing that I did straight out of university was I worked for a multi-brand sporting goods company called Y Evolve Sports. And that was really me being trusted into the digital landscape. It was a small marketing team that was working for two, three different sporting good brands. And what's interesting about that was those brands, their main target market wasn't even in Ireland. Their main target market was in the US. So trying to do advertising, digital marketing to a market that wasn't even your own, that was very interesting, and I learned so many things about that, and that kind of accelerated my knowledge in digital marketing. And then after 2.5 years of that, jumped into a small digital marketing performance agency. Did that for about a year and a half, and again learned so many things about the different various aspects of digital marketing, from paid social advertising, e-commerce tracking, so many different things, that kind of went above and beyond what I learned in the previous role. And then after that, went back again into the brand side. Now I'm working for Skoda Ireland, really deep into the automotive industry here. So it's new ground that I'm kind of breaking in terms of my experience of this industry. But it's very it's amazing. It's fun. It's a learning curve, but we're getting there.
Brilliant. And so Edmund, what do you see as your main strength in digital at the moment?
For me, I think my main strength in digital is the fact that like I kind of consider myself as a jack of all trades. Like the fact that in pretty much all my experiences, my work experiences, like I've been in small teams, and it's just allowed me to kind of really trust myself into everything that has to do with digital, whether it's paid digital advertising across the whole landscape of like search, social, display, programmatic, you know doing so many different things, and really you know delving deep in so many of those different things, and seeing how they can all kind of come together, and really add value in different ways to the clients and to the brands that I was working for. So if you wanted to have a conversation to me about Google Tag Manager, I can engage with you in that. If you wanted to talk to me about a paid social, I can engage with you in that. Website optimization, e-commerce, um you know optimization, I can engage you with that. So I think that's a strength of mine, rather than having a specific specialization over one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that from just some of your experience and what I've spoken to you off the podcast. But what I found quite interesting about your current role and how you're operating is obviously Skoda's a big brand. It's popular in Ireland in particular. How do you go about marketing such a big brand in out there in Ireland? I'm guessing Ireland's your main focus market wise, and you kind of report into the bigger kind of uh, departments around Europe and I suppose the US. It has a bit of a market as well. But how do you operate that side of things?
It's interesting because, yeah, just to answer your question, first of all, yeah, Skoda Ireland, really our target market is only Ireland, because each country would have their own kind of, we call it importer. So UK would have Skoda UK, Australia would have Skoda Australia. So we focus specifically in Ireland. And yeah, the way we advertise in Skoda, and really in automotive, is so different than kind of the experience that I've done with all the different brands that I've worked for, um, because it's quite, a good mix of offline and online. So it's the first time I've ever worked for a company where we're doing radio ads, we're doing TV ads, we're doing cinema ads, we're doing out of home banners, and then alongside that, to kind of enhance that and to work alongside it, we have all the digital stuff: paid search, display, social, programmatic, all the different things, sponsorships, you know in different websites, premium marketplace things. So it's like a mixture of both, and it's pretty amazing to work in a team where we're handling all of that. And it's also amazing that we're working with great agencies that are able to, that we're able to work together to develop really amazing advertising. um so we have a paid performance media agency on our left hand and a creative agency on our right. And then we work kind of hand in hand to produce this amazing content, to produce this amazing ads for all the different channels. So it's just interesting. Yeah. And yeah, the like maybe 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago now, at this stage, I was in, we were shooting a TV ad, and then another day I could be, listening into a radio script. Another day we could be talking with a performance media agency, talking about, like, how search performance is going, or how our paid social is going. Every day is so different, just because there's so many moving parts when it comes to marketing in automotive. So,
I actually did a very similar to role to you a couple of years ago when I was working at Circle K. It was rebranded from Topaz Energy, so not too far dissimilar from your industry. And when we transferred to Circle K, we used to get big toolkit assets. We could make our marketing kind of accustomed to the Irish market, so we could adapt it. But there'd be certain toolkits and assets that would come, and then you'd have to package that into a marketing kind of strategy. Would that be similar for Skoda? Is there a kind of a market message from the top, and then you have to basically nationalize that content?
yeah, no, 100%. So it's a mix, honestly, Tom. Like, on one end, we do have, we call it factory assets. So, every brand has a factory, and our factory is in Czech Republic. It's called the Auto Group. They create factory assets for us for all the different channels, and that we can use and localize for our purposes, for our campaigns. But we've been really lucky in Skoda, where the factory has given us a lot of the trust, because sometimes different brands might be restrictive in terms of what's allowed to be done in their specific market. They kind of want to, maybe, for lack of a better word, restrict, like, the messaging, because they want to keep it kind of tight and keep it within, the overall kind of, the brand message, and not localize it too much. Whereas in Skoda, we're given the liberty, the freedom, to really exercise, to create our own assets, to create our own localized, TV ads, localized radio ads. So you don't often see many brands running TV ads, car brands running TV ads in Ireland. Not that, and for many of those brands, it's not that they don't want to. It's probably A, they don't have maybe the budget for it, but B, also maybe they're not allowed as much to do. They don't have the liberties that we have. So we've really built a really good relationship with our factory to be able to do these things, and it's yielded results. Like Skoda, for the last few years now, has cemented really a kind of a North Star kind of, identity, which is made for Ireland. you know so through the different TV ads that's been run throughout the years, or even the stuff that we're doing, like the clever stuff we're doing on, let's say, out banner advertising. I don't know if a few years ago, if ever been to the terminal in the airport. You might see these kind of like very big, huge banners as you're going through the I don't even what you call it, not the escalator, but the thing that,
Yeah, the kind
conveyor
of
thing.
terminals going in. Yeah,
Exactly,
I know what you mean.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we ran this campaign called Legends campaign, and even before I worked in Skoda, I remember that it was such a amazing creative of, like, this kind of mythical kind of Irish character and mythical scenery, but then on the background you had the car kind of contrasting to that. And we're kind of doing something similar this year as well, without going too much detail. But yeah, so it's really cool that Skoda has really cemented itself with a brand identity of really being made for Ireland, even though it's not made for Ireland, made in Ireland. And that's really because we're given the liberty to create this, to do local advertising. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. Like it's such a strong brand over here, and like you've kind of touched on it there, but Skoda obviously to sell a car, you must need multiple touch points, both traditional and digital, to sell a car. So, is there anything that you see that could help our audience in marketing for maybe big business, where your focus is and where you see the opportunities? I suppose this could be more digital. This could be more digital related, but is there anything that you think, oh, I swear by this, and this is a definite touch point for businesses?
The interesting thing about the automotive industry is, when it comes to marketing, right? So obviously KPIs. So if we look at the KPIs, so it's important from a digital perspective for us to get traffic in our website, because our website is really the Bible of the, the digital Bible of that car brand. If for Skoda, it's Skoda.e. You get all the information about all the different cars. You're able to request a quote directly to the dealer network, book a test drive to the dealer network. Really, it's the bread and butter of where you want to bring people in, right? Skoda.e. So obviously traffic is a KPI. It's getting, before even that, it's getting, as much reach as possible to different, the people online. And then after that, after the website traffic, it's really leads, right? It's getting as many leads as possible, and driving as many, quality leads as possible to our dealer network. So if you go to our website right now, and if you go to most car websites, car brand websites, you go in there, you look at a car, you have your call to actions, which is usually book a test drive, request a quote, apply for finance. And these things, a lot of them, they go directly then to the dealer, and then the dealer will then, convert that lead into an eventual sale. So it's like getting as much of that quality lead so that the dealer can convert them essentially. And you know digital advertising, in the last few years, as we know, has gotten so clever at optimizing for KPIs, for optimizing for objectives. So like, the fact that you can optimize a campaign on social to optimize for conversions, for like, you know leads for conversions. I think that's something that I would encourage us to continue, people to continue to look into, and continue to really hone their skills into that. Because sometimes there might be, people or brands who might just be focusing, specifically brands with a lot of money and a lot of budget, and brands that maybe, focusing more on top line stuff. There's value in that, but at the same time, it's important to focus as well on the lower funnel, campaigns, lower funnel objectives. And each, like most advertising platforms, have the ability to run really optimized lower funnel campaigns that are optimized for leads, campaigns that are optimized for different things. And I think that's so important, running that alongside your more top line campaigns. I think social advertising is really the best at that. In terms of like the granular targeting, and optimizing for those objectives. And yeah, I think that's one thing I could say about advertising. And then again, it's making sure that everything is tracked as well. I know it's something that maybe many people might overlook, because it sometimes it kind of gets too deep into, let's say, technicalities of like of tracking and tag management and all that stuff. But I think having an understanding of that as well, and really making sure that, like, whether it's you're the one who's working and doing that, or you're outsourcing it, that you have some understanding of how that the tracking is affecting performance as well. um I think that's so important too. Um, like my experience, my small agency experience got me kind of exposed to, tag management, tracking, all of these kind of things. And you'd be surprised how many, kind of seasoned digital marketers might not know anything about these kind of things. And yet these are the things that actually yield, like, if you're running like lower mid funnel tactical campaigns optimized for leads, for conversions, if no one's working on that, no one's handling that, then you're not really going to get the best out of your campaigns. You're not really going to get the best ROI of your campaigns. because something isn't working right or something isn't optimized right. So I was lucky enough to experience that, and now I'm working, with our agencies, and kind of always like, going back and forth, collaborating with them. How best can we optimize the tracking so that we can get better results for our campaigns?
That's
So
brilliant. Yeah, I can imagine tracking is so key to your success. And Skoda, I've been on the website there, and there is so many areas, and obviously you have your electric range, and you're starting to push that market as well. But in terms of tracking, how micro do you go? Like, is it is it Google Analytics you're mainly using, or what other tracking softwares would you use to go micro for a business like that?
So for tracking, really, right, the foundational tracking tool is Google Tag Manager. Like Tag Manager will essentially, with Tag Manager, it basically, for those who might not know, it just manages every single tracking setup that you have on your website. So your Facebook, your Instagram, your all the different advertising platforms, your programmatic advertising, double click, um, what else, analytics, they can all be hosted within Tag Manager, so that everything is uniform. Because a lot of websites, you might not people might not realize, but a lot of websites, they're peppered with tags. Like you go to this page, there's a tag there, but then in the other page there isn't a tag, and it's very, very difficult to manage everything. Whereas if you put everything under Tag Manager, and you just have this one universal tag that goes into your website, everything is kind of smooth, and everything is and if you want to optimize one thing, it's then applied to every other tag that's connected to Tag Manager. So in that, and when it comes to like tracking, like you track, as much as you can in the website, really as much as you can, every click, you know the timings of how the customer is going into the website, going out of the website, going to different pages. And all of those kind of, the more kind of data that you're able to track, kind of the more clever you can kind of go with doing different things. Like, one of the things that we're doing at the moment, we're fixing it, but we're hoping to set it live in the next week or so, next week or two, is something called the lead scoring model. Basically, what it does is that you're going into our website, it measures your activity, it measures your behavior, and basing on what you do, how you interact with the website, it will dynamically show you a pop-up for whatever model it deems you're interested in. So if you're looking at Octavia, maybe you're configuring an Octavia, right? And it's kind of measuring that, and then eventually at the right time, it will then show a pop-up, with a nice Octavia creative leading you to one of our KPIs, which is either booking a test drive, requesting a quote, or one of the things that we're very proud about in Skoda, showing to you what Octavias are in stock in each of the dealerships, in each of our 27 dealers, around Ireland.
Brilliant.
So yeah, and those things that kind of clever, dynamic pop-ups, all these kind of different things. We're doing A/B testing. Our banners, at one stage last year, we did this thing where our homepage banners dynamically change depending on what you interact with the website. So like, let's say you go into our car configurator. Basically, a car configurator is a place where you can create your own car. So you want the blue Octavia with these kind of wheels, with this kind of spec, right? And basically you take that configuration, you send it to a dealer and say, listen, this is what car I want. So let's say you went to that configurator, you start messing around configuring your car, you left for some reason. You come back to our website, you see the homepage changes to that exact car that you were configuring, the blue Octavia with those exact wheels, basically asking you to either come back, finish your configuration, or um, book a test drive or request a quote. So
Wow.
that kind of clever stuff that we're doing, that I don't think a lot of automotive, websites are doing at the moment, that can only happen because the tracking is set up to be able to do that kind of stuff you
That's
know
really interesting. And in terms of the used cars part of the site, is that dealerships like secondhand, or those kind of car dealerships around Ireland? Do they upload their Skoda cars into your system, and that's how that section's deployed? How does that work?
No, actually, to kind of simplify it, they upload it to their systems, and we connect with their system. So their used car is actually a third party tool that we so it's a third party tool that's actually separate from the website. So the website um, itself, it's managed by the factory, and all the different tools, like I mentioned, the lead scoring model, the car configurator, the the banners that change dynamically, and many other things that I probably won't have time to mention. They form a part of what we call an ecosystem, right? It's an ecosystem. But there are certain things in our website that actually not a part of that ecosystem, like the used cars. They're an external tool managed by a different supplier. So we try our best to kind of make that customer experience seamless, but it is a different external tool, and that tool is connected to each of the dealers' kind of portals where they upload their used cars.
That's
So then
incredible.
it just yeah, and basically we have the used cars, which is one thing, but within our ecosystem, as I mentioned, we have another tool which is the new cars. So now you can see the used cars, but now you can also see the new cars that's connected to a dealership. And that's, I think that's brilliant because, you know, especially in the last like year or so, like last 2 years, and we've had issues with supply, right? Semiconductor supply, and this is across most automotive brands, particularly with Volkswagen Group, which is we're a part of Volkswagen Group, Seat, Cupra, Volkswagen, Audi. We experienced semiconductor issues, which cause supply shortage. So, and a lot of people are aware of this, and I think to be able to basically reassure customers, like, listen, we have stock in our dealership, we have stocks that you can order. You don't need to order a blue Octavia if you want. We already have one in stock in this dealership. It just allows for, to show that we're available, to show that, and to really generate more quality leads. Because they're basically submitting a lead for a car that already exists rather than for a car that may or may not. If that
Brilliant.
makes sense.
Yeah,
So
that's really, and obviously it's some sort of API for those two sections that connect with your main website. And I suppose everyone normally goes to the main website first. They wouldn't necessarily go to a dealership unless they previously went there or are familiar with the area and want to go there. But yeah, if they want a Skoda, they go
yeah,
to your site first and then generate the leads from there. It's, yeah, really interesting.
exactly. Most of the time it's from a website. Now every dealer would have their own website as well, but I would say most, because we have, like, the dealers probably don't have as much budget to advertise as we do, so probably I would say majority of their leads, their online leads, are coming from us, and so that's really a KPI that we prioritize.
That's excellent. And away from, you've kind of mentioned some of it already, but is there any softwares or anything you swear by that really helps with your work?
For me, it's I'm using like my tabs, my Chrome browser is just full of like different tabs of everything, from like all the different social medias that I'm managing, to the website CMS, to the social media management tool that we're using, which is Amplify. It's just it's I'm using a lot to Excel to create reports. So it's like, as a digital marketer, like you know yourself, like we're wearing so many different hats, and with every hat that we wear, it's like there's like multiple tools for each hat. So it's like, for me, it's just like those the tools that I need to use on a daily basis. Um, you know, I use them. There's nothing like, yeah, and most of the tools have everything that you need, really. So like if you're looking at like Facebook ads, like what's the best tool to use Facebook ads, so you to maximize Facebook ads? Where it's the Facebook Ads Manager. What's the best tool to maximize your website? Is the website CMS. And really learning that. So I'm using a lot of tools at the moment. I'm looking at my desktop, and it's just like I have my Chrome browser is full of tabs, and my Windows actual tab is full of like applications that is open at the moment. So it's the way it goes. So it's good though. Yeah.
Love it. And is there any areas that you're looking to upskill into, Edmund?
For me, two
Yeah.
things. At the moment, like one of the things that we're slowly kind of taking the steps into is a very universal CRM system that basically connects every single touch point of a customer, from the time that they came into the website and submit the leads, to from them purchasing the car, to the after sales part, where we try to keep them as a lifelong customer. At the moment, it's not fully connected yet. So we need so we're basically implementing Salesforce in our companies, to be able to connect and really create that, have that 360 view, to be able to really nurture and optimize that customer's experience. So Salesforce is one, and really being good at that, the different, specifically with Marketing Cloud, really upskilling on that. I think that's going to be really useful. That's already been useful as we're starting to pilot this the smaller kind of mini projects under the Salesforce umbrella. Also data analytics, because like automotive is insane. Like, I worked in e-commerce. I worked in, you know, worked for e-commerce brands, worked for different brands with various levels of data of what's, key important data. But in automotive, the amount of data is insane. Like the amount of, like, I'm not just even talking about like, okay, website data is one, and all the different things about website, but like customer data, the all that customer data, um and being able to take all of that, and connect that with different data like stock data and so many different things, and making sense of that data to kind of like produce insight that actually would add value and improve things in the business, is something I'd love to delve more into. Kind of in parallel with us getting our data kind of more interconnected with each other, on the other side is like learning how to analyze that better. I think that will work hand in hand for me personally.
From your point of view, it's a no brainer. Yeah, and I can see you working really well learning that. Looking at the digital industry as a whole, is there anything that excites you that's coming down the line? It doesn't necessarily have to be in this particular industry, but anywhere else.
For me, I mean, it's a conversation that's, um, probably you've had with so many other people as well. It's the metaverse that's very interesting for me, like how that's actually going to shape up the concept, of it, the idea of it. It's fascinating to me, um and how that will affect brands, in Ireland, and how that will affect brands in general, really. Like, I'm just conscious to see in this space how fast we are to adapt, and how fast we are to take this on board. you know um are we going to be an early adopter? Maybe there are already some early adopters within Ireland, but like, how are we like going to react to this change? A lot of question marks on it, but like, just interesting stuff that I'm seeing with the metaverse, in terms of how brands are utilizing it. Not very much in automotive yet, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. So that's one. But I know we talk. I'm talking a lot about the automotive industry, but I've kind of really kind of grown to love the industry, to be honest. So one of the things that with the industry in terms of digital is really the movement from the offline to the online. you
Yeah,
know I think it was slower for the automotive industry than other industries, um to create this move, like like I said to you, the stock cars, and the use and all these kind of like, ways to be able to see essentially a product feed, right, of the cars. That's only coming in the last few years. I mean, and a lot of brands are still catching up on that. And 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 you can, and at the moment, you still can buy a car online. And I know the idea of buying a car online seems like, wow, that's a big amount of money to put into, an online process. But I think, it's coming. It's coming, like, especially with the electric vehicles, that model, that kind of model of doing business, um it's changing. The landscape is really changing right now, and it's very exciting to be a part of it. And so, like, wait a few years, I mean, wait a year or two even, and go back to our website, you'll see some stuff that's, going to be quite impressive, I would say.
that sounds fantastic. Yeah, when you were talking there about the metaverse, a Skoda test drive on the Oculus, and choosing different cars and experiencing, the different dashes and stuff of a car and the feel for a car. It makes perfect sense. As a marketing uh, play. So when you're downloading, it's just one of the first experiences that are there to download for free is a kind of Skoda metaverse
And there's
app.
actually some precursors to that already, like very small precursors to that, which is like, for example, like we've done a lot of augmented reality stuff. So like, like stuff like, you point your camera on and in the ground, and then out of nowhere a Kodiak, there's a seven-seater, appears, and you can kind of, zoom in, zoom out, look at the interior. You can change the color. So things like that, small things, or like we have 3D search ads, or if you search us in Google, like you know, you might see a 3D version of that car you're searching for. So things like that. But yeah, eventually it's like taking all these small little steps until you get to like, what seems to be kind of the virtual reality and actual virtual reality experience. So yeah,
I can see
cool.
it. I can see it. Uh,
100%.
Lastly, Edmund, we always ask everyone on the show if you could bottle up one personality trait and pass it on to others that you have yourself, what would it be?
For me, it's it might sound so cliche, Tom, but like, it's me, it's just being kind to people, you know. Just be kind to people. That's so important to me. I feel like, you could have all the expertise in the world, you can be the smartest guy in the room, but if you're a, you know,
Yeah,
I won't say the word, but like, it's just being kind. It's just being kind to people. And the other thing is, always know that you don't know everything.
yeah.
Especially in digital. Like, the moment you learn something, the next day it changes, algorithms, platforms, tools. And that's, I think that's half the fun, really, as well. So yeah,
It
those three
is,
things.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's such a lovely way to end the show. Be kind, Edmund. Thank you so much for being on the interview here. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I found it really interesting. I'm sure our audience will love listening to you as well. So, yeah, first and foremost, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate your time.